This is not a fun or easy subject to talk about. And I've been reading a lot about betrayal trauma. And would you know that I read a statistic today that said 46% of people who experience some form of betrayal trauma, and that can be, it's somebody trusted close to you that violates that trust. So it could be a parent and a child, it could be a spouse being unfaithful, it could be a friend exposing your secrets, and all those different forms. But 46% of people who experience some kind of betrayal trauma actually have long-term PTSD from it. And isn't that so destructive? And don't you know that's just a tactic of the devil to try to tear people down, especially God's people. And Jesus knew what betrayal felt like. He knew that Judas was going to betray him, and I'm sure even though he knew, it had to sting because Jesus was human and God. So even though he wanted to do the will of the Father, I'm sure that it still hurt him. And somebody else that knew about betrayal in the Bible was Joseph. And one of my most favorite stories, because I felt like I could relate to him so many times. His brothers sell him into slavery and tell his dad that he's dead. His dad mourns, like brokenhearted mourns. Then Joseph, finally makes his way out, and then he finds himself thrown in prison, not by his own actions, but by false accusations. Then he's in prison, and he asks somebody to remember him so that he can get out of there, and they forget about him. And it's like one thing after another. But listen to what happens, though. He recognized his brothers right away when they had to come to him, because he ultimately became second in command only to Pharaoh. And so he had a lot of power. And there was a famine, and so his brothers had to travel, and they were trying to get some relief for since they didn't have food. So Joseph recognized them. And it said he had to excuse himself and go off and weep somewhere, because if anybody could have PTSD from betrayal trauma, Joseph, he deserved to have that, right? But I love what it says in Genesis chapter 50 and verse 19. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." So I want to tell you today, if you have been betrayed, I know that hurts, and I'm very sorry that you had to go through that. But know this, that even the betrayal is part of God's sovereign plan. And if you are a Christian, you have to look past that actual person, what they did, and realize that God has placed a certain calling on your life, a certain ministry for you to carry out, a certain people group to reach for Him. And the devil will try to do anything and everything to try to destroy you, or at least distract you. So that betrayal is an attack. If you can see past the person and realize it is part of the plan. So what do we do when we're under attack? We fight. We are children of God. We do not fear. Yes, we feel the feelings and we acknowledge that they are real, but we will not stay stuck in those, because that is what Satan wants. So I hope this encourages y'all. I was praying this morning and this verse came to me, and I remembered how much I love it. And I don't want any of us that experience some kind of trauma from what somebody else has done to us try to make us a victim. We might be a victim of betrayal, but we are not victims. We are victorious because of our victory in Jesus Christ. I love y'all.